Hello students, I am Barsha, your teacher for today. I do wish that you all are doing fine and you also remember whatever we have studied in the previous class. We were continuing the story in the Kingdom of Fools and you people enjoyed it a lot. So today in this session we are going to continue the same story again. Hope you will enjoy more and get through the real lesson of the story which the writer wants to convey to us through this story. Okay? So let us start. Poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. Now the king thought, yes, this is the real reason. The dancing girl is absolutely fine, correct in her statement. Whatever has happened, it's all because of the goldsmith. He is the real culprit and he should be punished. So the king immediately ordered to get hold of the goldsmith. Immediately it should be done, carried on. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. Now the king's bailiffs are the royal people, the legal people, officials, those who follow the instructions of the king, of the law. So they maintain the law and order. So these people went to the goldsmith to catch hold of him and he was hiding in a corner of his shop and he had already got the information, he had got the news that he was being accused by the dancing girl and now he had his own story. Now imagine what the interesting story will be. Isn't it so interesting, students? I do wish that you people are really enjoying it and we have real more fun to see just after this. So he came to the king. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I could not finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming and they would not wait. You know how impatient rich men are? Now the goldsmith had his own story. Now what was his story? That he could not complete the task of the dancing girl because there was the assignment, there was the task of a rich merchant. The rich merchant had ordered him to make some jewelries because they had a grand wedding and he said, you know how impatient these rich merchants are. So he kept on insisting that you should finish my work on time and I was busy in the work of the rich merchant. That's why I could not complete the task of the dancing girl and that was the reason. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry, made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him? Now the king was very confused. He inquired again from the goldsmith that who was this rich merchant who had ordered you to finish his task for which you could not complete the poor woman's jewelry and for which she had to walk up and down the street, that which distracted the bricklayer and for what the wall was not built in a proper way and for that reason the poor burglar, who was very innocent according to the king, was dead now. So he wanted the name of the rich merchant. The goldsmith named the merchant and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king, back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying, it wasn't me but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead. I am innocent. Now the goldsmith, he named the merchant. It was the same merchant. You know which merchant? It was the same merchant who was the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen on the thief. So the king thought, wow, that's so wonderful. It's the natural law that the justice never goes to the wrong person. It has come in a circle. So it has come to the right place and it has come to the right person. So the guilty is going to be punished. And who was guilty? Guilty person was, who was at fault? That was the merchant, because he had only ordered the goldsmith. And when this merchant was rudely summoned, because he came earlier, now again he was called very rudely, very strictly. So he was called back to the court again, and he was crying, because he said it was not he who had ordered the goldsmith, it was his father, and his father is no more there, he is dead. So students, the story has come to a very interesting point. So the story has come to the same place from where it started. So first of all, when the incident happened, who was called? The rich merchant. Now again it has come back to the same point. Okay. So the king thought this was the right thing to do, and he has caught the guilty. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. It is true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. Now the king consulted his ministers what to be done, and he had come to a decision. He said, it's fine, it's correct that your father is not there, but he is the murderer. He is dead now. But the justice should be given, and as because you are his son, so you inherit all his wealth, even his sins. So whatever he had committed, you have to pay for it, and because he was your father, so you need to be punished. We don't have any option. So because you have inherited all his wealth, you are living in the same house, so his sins are also yours, and so you have to be punished. And it's a horrible crime, because of the wall of your house a person has died. So this cannot be ignored. And the king said, I was so perfect in my judgment, in my decision, that from the beginning only, the moment I saw you, I knew that you were only the criminal. You were there all behind this, and so you must die. And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. You know, stake is the place where a person's head is kept and he is given the punishment. So the execution part, the punishment part is given like this, and so for that he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution of his order. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, impaling means the final punishment of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now when everything was ready, the people, those who were handling the stake, they sharpened it, everything was ready, and when just the criminal, the rich merchant, was going to be given the punishment, okay, at that time it was visible to the minister that the merchant was not fitting the stake properly, because he was very, very thin. So the stake has a proper measurement, so the person, the rich merchant, was not a proper fit for the stake. Now all of them were worried, the king, the ministers. So how could it be done? What shall we do? He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. Now imagine, now the justice is gone somewhere else. Now when they saw that the rich merchant was not fitting the stake properly, so now they decided that we have to find a person who was a perfect fit for the stake. Can you imagine the condition of this kingdom, where they have diverted themselves from the real culprit? Okay, so they are going to find out another person who is just going to fit the stake. He may not be faulty, he may not have any wrong intentions, he may not have even any knowledge about the crime, but he is going to be punished. Now see what happened next. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake. So the servants spread everywhere and they were searching for a person who could fit the stake. And their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. And now whom did they get? They got the disciple who had become a big fat man now. Why? Because he was eating continuously all the food, let it be bananas, rice, wheat and ghee. So the food had made him very, very fat. And the servants of the king caught the disciple and they took him to the king. What have I done wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi, he cried. He was very, very surprised. He was rather shocked that I have not done anything wrong. I am not at fault. How can I do something wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi. Why have you brought me here? That may be true, but it's the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they said, and carried him to the place of execution. So the servants just said that it's the royal decree, it's the royal order which we have to follow, and we have been instructed, we have been ordered to find out a person who is fit enough for the stake, and so we are obeying the instructions of our king. He remembered his wise guru's words. The disciple at this moment remembered his wise guru's words. His guru had instructed him that you should not stay here because it's a kingdom of fools. It's a harmful place. They do not have their common sense. They do not have knowledge about what they are doing. So it may be harmful for you. It's not a safe place for you to reside. Now those words were ringing into the ears of the disciple, but he has no other option. His guru had already said, he remembered his wise guru's words, this is a city of fools, you don't know what they will do next. Now those words were troubling him. He was very, very regretful because he had not listened to his guru's words. He regretted that why I didn't listen to the wise words of my guru and I stayed here. He warned me that this is not the right place for me because they do not know what they are doing. They are foolish people and they may harm me. But this is all my fault. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers. He could see far and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. He arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. Now what happened? This disciple, before getting the punishment, he prayed to his guru. He knew that his end was near, he was going to die, but there was nothing in his hands. So he prayed for the last time. He prayed to his guru that wherever you are, please listen to my prayers and I am going to get whatever I deserve. And the guru had the magical powers, so he could see everything. He could see whatever had happened in the past, whatever is in the present, and what is going to happen in the future. So immediately he arrived to rescue his disciple who was in such a scrape. Scrape is such a difficult situation which his disciple was in. So he came here to save his disciple. The disciple was in such a troublesome situation only because of his love for food. Because he loved food, he wanted to eat food and the food was very cheap here. That's why the disciple agreed to stay there and that's why he had come to this situation. So the guru came to his rescue. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Then he went to the king and addressed him, "O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple?" "Of course, the guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask?" "Then put me to the stake first, put my disciple to death after me." Now the guru had already thought of how to rescue his disciple, how to save the life of his disciple who was not at fault for anything. So just when he arrived, he scolded first the disciple that you are in the trouble only because of yourself, and then He whispered something into the ears of his disciple, and then he went to the king and addressed him that, "Oh, wisest of the kings, you are such a wise king, and you tell me, who is greater? The guru is greater or the disciple is the greater one? Who is greater?" He had this question for the king, and the king, without thinking anything, just said, "Yes, definitely it's the guru. How can the disciple be greater than him?" Now the guru pleaded before the king that if you consider that a guru is a greater person, that please put me to the stake first. I am the greater person than my disciple, so you should put me first to the stake, and then after that my disciple should be put to the stake, but I should be the first one to be put at the stake. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor. Clamor means claim. "Me first, you brought me here first, put me to that first, not him." What a situation! First the guru demanded that he should be put to the stake first, and now the disciple was also claiming that not the guru should be put at the stake first, but he should be killed first. The guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the guru, "Why do you want to die? We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake." Now the guru and the disciple had a fight. They were fighting that, yes, I should be punished first. So the king was all confused, puzzled. He got confused. He could not understand that why this guru and disciple are fighting with each other to die first. What is the reason? So he asked the guru that, "Why are you fighting about the punishment? Why do you want to die?" "Because we chose your disciple. He should be punished because he was the right fit for the stake. He was a fat man and we got the fat man for the punishment. But from where do you come and why do you want to die?" "You should not ask me such questions. Put me to death first," replied the guru. Now the guru was very stubborn. He said, "You should not ask me any question. I just said you to put me to death first, so that should be followed." "Why? There's some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand." Now the king was very confused. The king thought there was definitely some reason, there was some mystery cropping up, some secret behind it. So I should know about it. So he requested the guru that, "You are a wise man, you are a guru, you should please help me to understand the situation, that why do you want to die first? Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you?" asked the guru. The guru was very clever. He asked the king that, "Okay, fine, I would tell you everything, I would tell you the truth, but would you allow me for the death first? Would you put me to death first if I tell you the whole story?" The king agreed immediately. The king gave him his solemn word. He promised. The guru took him aside. Now the guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, "Do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us, we have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new. It has never had a criminal on it. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country, and whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. We are sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember." Now the guru took the king to the side where the servants could not hear anything, and slowly in his ears he made up this story and told him. We all could know that this was a story which he made up, and said that we both, the guru and the disciple, have been moving all around the world, but we have never come across such a beautiful city and such a great king like you. And for your knowledge, I should say that the stake which is there in front of you, that is a stake, very precious stake, because that has no blood of any criminal. This is a new stake. So this is the stake of the God of justice. It's a very precious stake, and whoever dies first will be the king of this city, and after that who dies on this stake, he will become the minister. So that's why I and my disciple, we are fighting to die first, so that whoever dies first will get a chance, get an opportunity to become the king. Wasn't it an interesting story to fool the king who was already foolish? The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time. So he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we will be reborn as king and minister again. Holy men do not tell lies, he said, and the minister agreed. Now the king, when he listened to this story of the guru, he was in a thoughtful condition. He went into deep thought. He thought deeply that it would not be justified and fair enough that somebody else apart from our people would come and rule this city. So it is our kingdom. I am the king. So this should not be given to them at all. So he had a secret conversation with his minister, and what he did, they decided that they should be put to death themselves, so that they would be reborn as the king and the minister themselves. So the king and his minister had fallen in the trap which the guru had made for these foolish people. So they did not understand that this is not the way somebody can become the king and the minister if they go into the stake first. But they were foolish, they didn't have any common sense, and the king believed the guru because he said that the holy men never speak lies. The holy men never speak lies. This was the belief of the king. But here the guru had to save the life of his disciple. So in order to save the life of his disciple, he had to make up this story so that he could help and save the life of his disciple. Now what happened next is very interesting. So he told the executioners, we will send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first, then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders, don't make any mistake. Now the executioners who were going to carry on the orders, who were going to punish the criminals, they were ordered that the criminals will be sent to them that night, and they just had to carry the orders. So whoever comes first, they have to put him to death first, and whoever comes next, because it was very important to follow the order. Otherwise the king and the minister's position will be changed according to the king. So they ordered the same way to the executioners and instructed them not to make any mistake. That night the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two, and as arranged beforehand with loyal servants were taken to the stake and promptly executed. Now that same night the king and his minister, they secretly went to the prison where the guru and disciple were there, and they disguised means changed their appearance. So they had another appearance, they were dressed up the same as the guru and the disciple, so that others could not identify them, and they went to the stake, and with the help of the loyal servants who were very, very loyal, they were also foolish, they helped the king and the minister to die, to go for the death penalty. So this is what happened to the foolish king and the minister. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. The city was in confusion. So when the bodies were taken down to be thrown to the crows and vultures, the people panicked. The people were scared. Why? Because they saw the dead bodies of the king and the minister in front of them. So the whole city was in confusion. Their king and ministers, they were dead. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. The people in the kingdom were very much scared. They didn't know what was the future of the kingdom, and they mourned the death also. They were sad. Mourned means when you are sad about somebody's death. Okay, so that is called mourning, and they mourned the death of the king and the minister, but they were also worried about the future of the kingdom. Who would rule the kingdom? some people suddenly thought of the Guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. So somebody saw that the Guru and the disciple, they were leaving the town, and they were hiding themselves and trying to leave the town. But they caught them and they said, they requested them, "We people need a king and a minister," said someone. Others agreed. They begged the Guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the Guru. Persuade means when you request somebody, when you want somebody to follow you, somebody to listen to you, so you persuade. So it was very easy to persuade the disciple. He listened to them, but the Guru, it was not very easy. He was not convinced that he should be the king. But finally, after so many discussions, so many arguments, finally the Guru also agreed that he would be the king, and they finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws, because it was very strange, it was very complicated, whatever the kingdom was going through. So they had a condition that they should be given the freedom to change the old laws, then only they would rule the kingdom. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a dudu. It became like any other place. So after that only, when the Guru and the disciple took over the kingdom, everything went normal, and the day again started with the rise of the sun, and the night came with the twinkling stars and the moon. So it was back to normal, and the value of all the articles was not the same again. You could not find everything just for a dudu. So it became like any other place. So that's the story which tells us that if you are surrounded by foolish people, then you also are under problem, because the foolish people, they themselves create problems for them, equally they create problems for others. So it is better to avoid the foolish people. If the disciple in the story would have listened to his Guru's words, then he would not have faced a situation like this. We have already completed the chapter, and you all have also understood everything properly, isn't it? So next is the turn of testing what you have understood. So let us now discuss the question answers. Okay. So here are the questions. Let us discuss in detail. Name all the people who are tried in the king's court and give the reasons for their trial. So we already know who were the people, those who were tried in the king's court. Okay. Now let us see who all were there. The owner of the house, that is the merchant, the bricklayer, the dancing girl and the goldsmith were tried in the king's court. They all were tried because the thief died when the wall of merchant's house had collapsed. The merchant was tried for building a weak wall. The bricklayer was tried for doing his work carelessly. The dancing girl was tried for disturbing the concentration of the bricklayer. The goldsmith was blamed for making the dancing girl walk up and down to his house a dozen times. So these were the people and the reasons for the trial in the court of the king. Okay. Let us move to the next question. The question for you is, who is the real culprit according to the king? Why does he escape punishment? So the answer is, yes, you all are correct. The merchant's dead father was held responsible for making the wall weak. But according to the king, the rich merchant was the real culprit because he had inherited both sins as well as riches of his father. So he escaped the punishment because he was too thin to fit the stake. That's why he was not punished. Okay, and the disciple came into the picture. Okay. Now let us discuss the next question. The question is, what are the Guru's words of wisdom? When does the disciple remember them? Here is the answer for you. The Guru was full of wisdom and knew well that the unpredictable behavior of the fools could create danger anytime. The Guru's words were, They are all fools. This won't last very long and you can't tell what they will do to you next. So these were the Guru's words of wisdom, and the disciple remembered them when he was arrested by the men of the king to execute merely because he fitted the stake. It was because of the Guru's words of wisdom that the execution was postponed. Let us come to the next question. The question for you is, how does the Guru manage to save his disciple's life? Yes, I know you all got the answer. You all are correct. The answer is, the Guru arrived on time to save his disciple and created a drama. He told the king that it was not an ordinary stake and whoever went to the stake first would become the king in next life. The second to die would become his minister. The king wanted to avail himself of the opportunity. The Guru and his disciple were released. Thus, the Guru managed to save his disciple's life. Okay? So, that was a very interesting story, and I do believe that you have learnt a lot from this story and would definitely execute it in your lives in an effective way. So, that's all for today. Thank you.